Now, this weekend, of course, it wasn't just about the Gaelic action in the surrounding area of Leitrim. There was a little bit of soccer to be played as well, and it was Saturday evening when Longford Town took to the pitch in Belfield Bowl against UCD in what turned out to be an absolute cracker of a cup tie in the SSE Airtricity League First Division playoff semi-final. I'm joined by the Longford Town manager, Daire Doyle, to have a chat about the game. Daire, you're very welcome back to the programme.
Yeah, listen, it's great to talk, Breifne.
Now, it's been a while since we spoke to you. We spoke to you back in pre-season, and with COVID and all of that sort of stuff, it feels like years ago now at this stage. In terms of the season, let's maybe start there before we talk about the game yesterday. But Longford Town finished fourth in the end. Is that a good season, bad season? What's your own thoughts on it?
It was a bit short of our expectations. We'd hoped to challenge right at the top end of the table. Where when it came down to the last couple of games, it was Bray and Drogheda that were really battling for the top. We felt we had a squad and a group capable of competing there, so we're a little disappointed that we haven't competed at the very top end of the table. But once it was the case that it showed with a couple of games to go that we weren't going to be in a position to win the league, it was just really important that we finished in the playoffs, and that's what we've done, which brought us into the game against UCD on Saturday.
Now, you talk about the race for the playoffs, and it really was something like I've never seen before. 7 teams in the shake-up for those 5 spots, and then there was appeals and there was teams moved and changed. The First Division really had everything over the last 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, no, it really did. And like you mentioned, too many teams were competitive and chasing the playoff spots, and I think that's obviously down to it being an 18-game league. When we came back after the break, there was some crazy results all over. You look at the likes of Athlone beating Drogheda. I know they had a great win against Shells yesterday in the cup. You had defeats at teams at the top by teams lower down in the league, and all sorts of results. You had a Cabinteely side that were on great form that in the end fell off, and you had teams competing right up to the last day. So it's been an exciting, obviously, view, I suppose, for all the viewers to our league this year.
It's great from a neutral point of view. What's it like when you're in the dugout and a situation there where you could have finished, I think, 3rd in the table on Tuesday night, but also have dropped out of the playoff spots? Can't be easy when it's, I suppose, your livelihood that depends on it as well.
No, listen, it's not at all. We knew going into the last game of the season that obviously it was in our own hands, and that's why it was so disappointing that night to lose the game. But other results meant that we'd finished 4th. Whether we finished 3rd, we'd still be and won that game 6-2, which we possibly should have done against Wexford. We would have been playing UCD regardless on yesterday. So it's been mad, and it hasn't been easy to take some of the times with the results. But what we do have is a really good group of players who put in a really good performance yesterday, and we'll take that in hopefully to the game next week against Galway and be ready to give it everything we have to get the result that's needed.
Of course, as well, you talked about how Drogheda and Bray duked it out for the league title. As it stands right now, Bray are out. Bray got beaten yesterday as well, so they can't be promoted this season. They'd probably swap their league form for your chance at Galway on Friday night.
Yeah, listen, they would without a doubt. They were so unlucky. They've had a really good season, and they finished, I think it was a point off Drogheda, and with 2 games to go, everything was in their hands. And to me, it looked like I thought they were going to win the league, and then obviously they lose their second last game, which hands the initiative back to Drogheda, who go on to win on the last night. So yeah, I'm sure everyone at Bray would swap places with us without a shadow of a doubt at this stage. You have Galway, who came on strong to the latter 10-11 games of the season, and they'd come in, you said, in 5th place there with what happened to Cabinteely and the points deduction. So I mean, I think you see it in leagues in England, in playoffs, in the Championship, in League 1 and League 2, that a lot of the time over a long season, the team that ends up getting second, a lot of time, they don't tend to win the playoffs. And it's proved to be the case this year that the teams that finished 2nd and 3rd didn't win the semi-finals of the playoffs, and it's ourselves and Galway now that meet next week.
I suppose it's always a risky enough game in this league with managerial appointments, and I suppose no manager's position is safe after 2 or 3 bad defeats. But Galway made the decision, rightly or wrongly, in the middle of the season to get rid of Alan Murphy and replace him with John Caulfield. It really has proven to be a masterstroke on behalf of the powers that be in Galway. They've barely been beaten since, and now they find themselves in a position where they're the only obstacle to you now having a shot at the playoff in the Premier Division.
Yeah, listen, they've come in after the first 8 games. They hadn't won a game. Now, I know they drew 4 and they lost 4 of their first 8 games, and a couple of them defeats were narrow defeats. They were actually unlucky in some of the games earlier on in the season, and the decision was made to bring John in. Obviously, he's a vastly experienced manager, and I'm sure when he came into the club, it gave everyone at the club a huge lift. You've seen it in the results. I think in their last 10 league games, they won 7 of them, and I think it was 2 draws and a defeat, or whatever it was. But like I say, of their last 11 games, including yesterday's game, they've won 8 of them. So they are really a side coming in form, and had they started the season in that form, we'd possibly be talking about them being the champions instead of drawing.
We might come back to Galway in a moment, but let's talk about yesterday's game first of all. The Belfield Bowl, it's a lovely venue. It's very picturesque. No supporters, only a handful of people in the videos I saw yesterday, but you left it late, both in normal time and extra time. You like doing things to entertain, at least in Longford.
Well, I don't know about that. I would have much preferred an earlier equaliser than in the 90th minute, but after going behind 1-0, I was disappointed at half time. They probably slightly shaded the first half UCD, but it was quite even. And we went into the second half where we really put it up to them, created a number of chances, and I felt we were a far better side in the second half. The fact that we left it so late to get to equaliser, I suppose it adds to the drama of how the game went to bring the game into extra time. But listen, it was a really good performance from the lads yesterday, and delighted that we were able to bring the game into extra time and get the goals needed, with another Joe Gorman header from a set piece, and then a special goal from Dean Byrne in injury time of extra time to get us to this next stage now.
Come at the man, come at the hour, because Dean has had some serious challenges this year. He broke his leg at the start of the season against Shamrock Rovers 2, and now he finds himself being the hero of the piece in the semi-final. You must have been delighted, not just for what it means for the club, but for him personally, just to get back playing and to be able to hit that strike. I've seen it on Twitter this morning, and it was just an absolute one for the ages from distance. Just pick the top corner, didn't keep her in the hope.
No, we didn't at all. And listen, we're delighted with Dean. You obviously mentioned the injury that he picked up earlier in the season, and obviously he missed a lot of football. Obviously, COVID helped with when the league shut down for that large period, that he wasn't missing as many games as he possibly should do. He's been probably back available to us for over the last maybe 9 games, and he's featured in, I think, 7 of those, a couple from the bench, and a majority of them started. But he hasn't got to a stage yet where he's hit a 90-minute period, and he was unfortunate to miss out on the Wexford game beforehand. But listen, he's come through a tough period, and he's had to stay mentally strong. We've had great work with our physios, Willie and Albert, and myself and John have just tried to keep with him all through this period and make sure that he knew that we were all there for him and to help to get him back, because we know how big a player he can be. We've seen how good he was for the club last season, and he's one of the best players in the league without a shadow of a doubt. So to get him back and available to us, and for him to come on and score a special goal, like you mentioned, to win us the game and get us into this next round, it was really brilliant for Dean. I was delighted for him.
Of course, we must mention that this isn't, the game on Friday isn't a direct playoff final, so to speak. The winners of this game will play the team that finishes second last in the Premier Division for that spot. Going into the game on Friday, though, you're not even, I suppose, thinking about the Premier Division team yet, but Galway, as you mentioned, on a really, really rich run of form. What do you need to bring to this game to make sure that the league positions holds, and it's not that team, as you mentioned, coming with momentum from the bottom of the table up that will take the day, because obviously you won't want that to happen in this case?
No, listen, exactly. We need to prepare for the game. The lads have just had a recovery session this morning. We'll make sure we have a good week to prepare and be ready for the game come Friday. We'll be in on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday before the game Friday. We'll get together online on Wednesday. So we'll prepare as much as we can with the work we need to do on the training pitch. With the ball, without the ball, we need to work on the things that we're really good at and make sure we're effective of that in the game. We also need to know what Galway are really good at. They turned us over at our place after we dominated the first, well, almost all of the first half. They got a goal to get back into the game at 2-1 at half time, but it ended up being a really disappointing night. We know the things that we need to be better at coming into this game, and that's something that we look to work on this week. So when that game comes next Friday, we'll put ourselves in a position where we can deal with the threats that Galway will offer, and we'll also be in a place where we can impose our game and our style on it.
Of course, I said you wouldn't be focusing on that game with the Premier Division team, but you must be aware of what's happening at the foot of the Premier Division table. Cork, obviously, another managerial position change there during the season. Your own mentor, Neil Fenn, who you took the job over from in Longford, he has parted ways with the club. They've since been relegated. Finn Harp's currently in 9th, but the way they've been playing no more than Galway on a good run of form, and they could realistically catch Shells, Derry, Pats, even Sligo could get pulled back into that if results go freakishly, in Sligo's case, against them. But you don't really know who to prepare for until you get through that Galway team. Have you been keeping an eye on that yourself?
Listen, you keep an eye on everything that goes on in football in the country, and obviously it's probably a little bit fascinating down there with the couple of wins that Finn Harps have been able to get in the last couple of weeks. You've seen that I think Pat's got a draw there this afternoon. I think Finn Harps are 1 down to Rovers tonight as we speak. So we'll see. They have their last game of the season against Waterford, or I think Shells play their last game of the season against Shamrock Rovers. So who knows what way that's going to go. Like you said, we're not really going to focus on anything bar Galway. Once we're able to do a job and get the result we need next week, then it'll be a case of talking and looking and doing all the homework and everything that we need to do on what needs to happen ahead of that. But that's not anything that's really in our mind or our focus at the moment. It's all down to Friday, and it's all about Galway.
Of course, Friday is all important, but any worries or any selection issues ahead of the game? Have you a full deck to deal from?
Yeah, we'd hope so. We had a couple of players missing there at the week. Obviously, we have Sam Verdon, who's more of a long-term injury there. Where he picked up a shoulder injury a couple of weeks back, and it's been really disappointing to lose Sam, because he's been such a big player for the club over the last number of years. He's a leader in the dressing room. He chips in with goals. I mean, he had 6 goals in 12 games before the injury, so it was really disappointing to lose Sam. We have young Thomas McLaughlin, who's another long-term injury and really hasn't featured all year, and we're hopeful that he's in the stage of rehab where he can get back playing football next year. We had Adam Evans, who missed out, unfortunately, at the weekend, but we'd hope that he'd be in a position to get back to the squad. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be. 1 or 2 little knocks, obviously, from 120 minutes of football yesterday, and a couple of people that will recover over the next day or 2, which is really important. But we'll go in there with a good bill of health, really, and more or less full selection bar the full names that I mentioned there at the start.
Well, listen, on that note, Daire, the very best luck to you and your team on Friday night. We'll all be cheering for you down this part of the country. Even if you are playing a fellow Connacht, we'll take that bridge. You're closer to us than Galway. The very best luck to you, and hope it all goes your way, and whatever the future holds in terms of promotion. Best luck to you.
Yeah, listen, really appreciate that, and great to talk to you this evening.